A quiet road, late evening, the kind of drive you've taken hundreds of times before. The streetlights pass overhead one by one. The radio hums softly in the background. Your hands rest casually on the steering wheel, and everything feels routine, predictable. But what most drivers don't realize is that the rules governing that routine drive are constantly changing, sometimes quietly, sometimes without warning. And sometimes those changes are so significant that a driver who believes they are following the law might unknowingly be breaking it. In 2026, several important driving laws and traffic enforcement rules have changed across different jurisdictions. Some are designed to address new technology inside vehicles. Others respond to rising accident rates, distracted driving, and the growing presence of automated systems on the road. And many drivers have no idea these changes even exist. So here's a question for you. If a police officer stopped you tonight, would you be completely confident that you're following every rule that now applies in 2026? Or could one of these new laws catch you completely off guard? Think about that for a moment. And while you're thinking, I'd like you to leave a comment below. Which driving rule do you believe has changed the most in recent years? Is it phone usage, speed enforcement, cameras, or something else entirely? Your experience might surprise other viewers, because what we're about to explore are 10 driving laws that have recently changed or expanded in 2026, and each one affects ordinary drivers in ways many people still don't understand. The road system has always been a balance between freedom and regulation. When automobiles first appeared in the early 20th century, there were almost no standardized rules. Drivers operated vehicles that were faster than anything society had previously encountered, but the legal framework hadn't yet caught up. In fact, some of the earliest traffic laws were surprisingly simple. Basic speed limits, hand signals, right-of-way guidelines. But as vehicles became faster, roads became more crowded, and accidents became more common, lawmakers began introducing new rules designed to reduce risk and improve safety. Seatbelt laws, drunk driving enforcement, vehicle safety inspections. Each generation of drivers adapted to new expectations. And now we're living through another major shift. Because modern vehicles are no longer just machines with wheels. They're connected devices. They track data. They communicate with infrastructure. Some can even assist with steering, braking, and lane positioning. And as technology evolves, the law must evolve with it. One of the most widely discussed updates in recent years involves distracted driving enforcement. Many regions already had laws prohibiting handheld phone use while driving, but enforcement used to rely heavily on police observation. An officer needed to see the driver holding the device. That approach is changing. Several jurisdictions have begun introducing camera-based detection systems designed specifically to identify drivers using phones or other electronic devices behind the wheel. These systems use high-resolution imaging combined with artificial intelligence to determine whether a driver appears to be holding a phone or interacting with a device while driving. If the system detects a violation, it can automatically generate a citation similar to red light camera enforcement. For many drivers, this represents a significant change, because it means distracted driving enforcement is no longer limited to the moment an officer happens to observe the behavior. Instead, automated systems can monitor traffic continuously. Supporters argue that this reduces accidents caused by distracted drivers. Critics raise concerns about privacy and automated enforcement. But the broader trend is clear. Road safety enforcement is increasingly supported by technology. Now let's consider another change many drivers haven't fully noticed: the expansion of slowdown laws around emergency vehicles. For years, most regions required drivers to move over or slow down when passing police vehicles, ambulances, or fire trucks stopped on the side of the road. The purpose was simple: protect first responders working near traffic. But in 2026, many places have expanded these laws to include additional categories of roadside workers. Tow truck operators, utility repair crews, highway maintenance teams, even certain types of roadside assistance providers. These workers face significant danger while standing just feet away from moving traffic. As a result, lawmakers have broadened the protections requiring drivers to either move to another lane when possible or reduce speed significantly when passing. Failure to do so can result in fines or additional penalties depending on the jurisdiction. And here's something interesting to consider. Studies conducted by transportation safety organizations have shown that roadside workers face one of the highest occupational risks related to vehicle collisions. In many cases, drivers simply fail to notice the stopped vehicles until the last moment. So the law is evolving to reduce that risk. Now imagine driving through a construction zone. You see orange cones, flashing lights, and reduced speed limit signs. Most drivers understand that construction zones often carry higher penalties for speeding. But in recent years, several regions have introduced automated speed enforcement, specifically within active work zones. Unlike traditional enforcement, where a police officer must be present, automated systems can measure speed continuously within designated construction areas. If a driver exceeds the posted work zone speed limit, the system records the violation. Supporters argue that this approach improves worker safety and reduces accidents. Opponents sometimes worry about over-reliance on automated enforcement, but the statistics behind work zone crashes are difficult to ignore. According to transportation safety data, thousands of injuries and hundreds of fatalities occur in construction zones each year. Many involve speeding vehicles, so lawmakers increasingly see automated enforcement as a tool to protect workers. Now let's shift to another topic that has become increasingly important: vehicle data. Modern cars collect enormous amounts of information: speed, acceleration, braking patterns, GPS location. Some vehicles even record data related to driver assistance systems or near-collision events. Historically, this information was mostly used for diagnostics or crash investigations. But lawmakers are now addressing how this data can be accessed, stored, and used. In some jurisdictions, updated regulations require greater transparency about vehicle data collection. Drivers may have new rights regarding access to their own vehicle data. Manufacturers may face stricter rules about how long certain information can be stored or shared. And in legal investigations, data from event data recorders, sometimes referred to as vehicle black boxes, can play a role in determining what happened before a collision. This raises an interesting question. Should the data generated by your car belong entirely to you? Or should certain information be accessible for safety investigations? There are strong arguments on both sides, and as vehicle technology continues evolving, this debate will likely become even more significant. Now consider another change affecting many drivers: the legal treatment of advanced driver assistance systems. Features such as adaptive cruise control, lane centering assistance, and automated emergency braking are becoming increasingly common. These systems can reduce driver workload and potentially prevent accidents, but they also create confusion about responsibility. If a vehicle has partial automation, who is responsible when something goes wrong? The driver, the manufacturer, the software developer? In 2026, updated regulations in several jurisdictions emphasize a critical principle. Even when driver assistance systems are active, the human driver remains legally responsible for controlling the vehicle unless the system is explicitly classified as fully autonomous under approved regulatory frameworks. This clarification is designed to prevent drivers from assuming that partial automation eliminates their responsibility, because current systems are designed to assist, not replace, human attention. And unfortunately, there have been documented cases where drivers overestimated the capabilities of driver assistance systems. Some drivers even treated these systems as fully autonomous when they were not. Regulators are working to ensure drivers understand that responsibility still rests with them. Another evolving rule involves the growing number of electric vehicles on the road. Electric vehicles introduce unique characteristics compared to traditional internal combustion engines. They are often quieter. They may accelerate differently. They require charging infrastructure. And some jurisdictions are updating regulations to address these differences. For example, certain areas now require electric vehicles to produce artificial sound at low speeds to help pedestrians detect approaching vehicles. This is particularly important for individuals with visual impairments. Without engine noise, an electric vehicle moving slowly through a parking lot or residential street might be difficult to hear, so regulations now require specific acoustic alerts under certain conditions. Now let's pause for a moment and think about how much driving has changed over the last 2 decades. If you learned to drive in the early 2000s, many of the technologies and enforcement systems we're discussing simply didn't exist. Automated cameras were limited. Vehicles had fewer sensors. Driver assistance systems were rare. Today, the landscape is completely different, and that leads us to another rule that is evolving rapidly: speed enforcement technology. Traditional radar and laser systems used by police officers are still widely used, but increasingly, enforcement also includes automated speed detection cameras placed in specific high-risk areas: school zones, construction zones, dangerous intersections. Some regions have expanded these systems significantly. The goal is simple: reduce dangerous speeding in locations where accidents are most likely. And data from traffic safety organizations suggests that automated speed enforcement can reduce crash rates in certain environments. But once again, it raises questions about fairness, privacy, and transparency. Drivers often ask whether automated enforcement should supplement or replace traditional policing. And the answer continues to evolve. Another important change in many areas involves new protections for cyclists and pedestrians. As cities promote alternative transportation methods, laws are increasingly designed to protect vulnerable road users. One example is the expansion of safe passing distance laws. Drivers must leave a minimum distance when passing a bicycle. In some regions, this distance requirement has increased, and enforcement penalties have become more serious in cases where drivers fail to provide sufficient space. Because when a vehicle weighing thousands of pounds passes a cyclist at close distance, even a small mistake can lead to severe injury. The law is adapting to protect those sharing the road. Now here's something many drivers overlook: insurance and accident reporting rules have also evolved in some jurisdictions. Certain regions now allow or require digital reporting tools for minor accidents. Drivers may be able to submit information, photographs, and documentation through official mobile apps or online platforms, rather than waiting for an officer to arrive for every minor collision. This approach can streamline reporting and reduce administrative delays, but it also requires drivers to understand what information must be documented at the scene: photographs, insurance details, vehicle damage, location information. Understanding these procedures can make a significant difference after a minor accident. And as technology improves, these digital reporting systems may become more common. Another legal shift involves the treatment of aggressive driving. While speeding has always been regulated, many jurisdictions are now strengthening penalties for behaviors that demonstrate clear disregard for road safety: tailgating, dangerous lane weaving, excessive speed combined with reckless maneuvers. These behaviors can sometimes escalate a routine traffic violation into a more serious offense, depending on circumstances, because enforcement agencies recognize that aggressive driving significantly increases crash risk. Now let's step back and reflect on something important. Most drivers do not intentionally break the law. They simply operate based on the rules they learned years ago. But laws evolve, technology changes, and the gap between what drivers think the rules are and what the law actually requires can sometimes become surprisingly wide. So here's another question for you. When was the last time you reviewed the driving laws in your state or country? Was it when you first obtained your license, or have you checked more recently? You might be surprised by how much has changed, because driving is one of the few activities most adults perform almost daily, yet rarely revisit from a legal perspective. And that's exactly why updates like the ones we've discussed in 2026 are so important. They reflect a world where vehicles, infrastructure, and technology continue evolving, where safety research identifies new risks, where lawmakers attempt, sometimes imperfectly, to reduce accidents and protect everyone using the road. The road you drive today is not the same road drivers experienced 20 years ago. Not legally, not technologically, not socially, and the rules governing that road will continue evolving in the years ahead. Because transportation is one of the most complex systems in modern society. Millions of drivers, millions of vehicles, all sharing the same network of roads. Each decision behind the wheel affects everyone around us. So as we conclude this discussion, it's worth reflecting on a simple idea. Driving is both a privilege and a responsibility. Understanding the laws that govern it isn't just about avoiding tickets. It's about protecting lives. Your own, your passengers, pedestrians, cyclists, and everyone else navigating the same roads. So I'd like to leave you with one final question. Which of these new driving laws surprised you the most? And do you think these changes make the roads safer or more complicated for drivers? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might help someone else become a more informed and safer driver the next time they get behind the wheel.